What's up guys, Asian here again with another BTS video, and today is just kind of I kind of want to call this kind of a showcase. It's going to be a fairly short video compared to some of the other ones that I've done. It's really just kind of taking a look at where standard DPS have stand based on the changes that have been made on the PTS. Namely, how much DPS did you lose if you decide not to really change anything at all. I'm showcasing the Stamina Nightblade here because this is the DPS class on Stamina DPS class that I'm the most comfortable with, just because this is kind of the main DPS that I have run whenever I did a Stamina DPS. So basically what I did was I basically kept everything pretty much exactly the same. So I still ran Endless Hail, I still ran Caltrops. The only thing I really changed was I didn't have Flawless Dawnbreaker on the front bar because it didn't have any sort of additional weapon damage bonus anymore. It just gave you the 3%. So instead I put in cap on the front bar instead, just because crit chance might be a little bit better than the additional weapon damage that you would get. So 3%, I think it's a 2% crit chance might be better than 3% weapon damage that you would get from Dawnbreaker there. And so then I did a parse, and then I compared it to my current build video on Stamina Nightblade, which is currently on my channel, as a point of comparison here. And basically, it is going to be DPS loss if you don't change anything at all. So this was the parse that I did, where I pretty much did exactly the exact same thing that I have on live right now on my current build, and pulled about 78.1k. On my video, I'm pulling closer to about let's see, 81.8k. So we're looking a look at about a 3k drop in DPS, kind of to be expected considering that Caltrops is now way down here in terms of damage, not all that strong anymore. And this hail also dropped in DPS considerably. Just to give you an idea here, I do have it up on the other screen on my second monitor right here, but Endless Hail on my build video did 11,872 DPS. Here it's only doing 7,161 overall in DPS. So just kind of give you a little bit of perspective here as to how things are doing. Rearming Trap seems to have gotten a little bit of a DPS buff. It's kind of hard to tell because on this video I don't really see the secondary portion of the Rearming Trap. The dot component was doing about 3488 DPS versus here where it's doing 5365 on top of the initial hit, which is 736. So the Arming Trap at the very least got a little bit of a DPS buff. It's actually quite good. Poison Injection is actually doing a little bit better now in terms of overall DPS compared to how it is currently on live. So on live it's doing 3829 DPS with a max hit of 35.774. Here you can see it's doing a lot better, 5612 with a max hit of 41,765. So it doesn't do quite as much execute damage anymore, but in terms of modifier, but because it was buffed, it does actually end up doing more damage overall. So overall this is a buff to Poison Injection here. So not that bad here in terms of if you don't change anything at all. It's still going to be DPS loss, so again about 3k DPS loss. But if we go ahead and make a couple of changes here, I have tried out a few things here, and so far this is what's been really doing it for me right now in terms of giving me the best DPS. 87.7k or so. So I'm still using Lakesti's front bar, Relquin body, and then I'm still using Velodreth just because I'm still trying to get used to using the new Monster set, which should in theory be stronger than Velodreth is. So still getting used to that, so eventually at some point I will be taking a look at that set and using that instead of Velodreth, but I'm still trying to get the timing down. Just so for this video I just kept with Velodreths here. And we can see here a couple of changes that I did here. So the first thing was I used Arrow Barrage instead of Endless Hail. Things ended up lining up a little bit better this way. Then I did Soul Trap instead of Razor Caltrops. As you can see, a lot better DPS here, almost 6k DPS from Soul Trap here. And then a couple other things here. I ended up using a axe on my offhand that's precise to kind of offset the loss in crit chance that I got from using axe dagger instead of double daggers. This actually ended up doing better. So this other parts here was the double daggers, so I did 85.1k, but when I swapped over to the axe and adjusted my CP accordingly, so I have a little bit higher mean penetration, but not too much, and it shouldn't really affect things too much here. Major Slayer was a little bit higher here, but again, shouldn't matter all too much overall, and we've got about 2.5k additional DPS. So the axe bleed was buffed in Scalebreaker, so I think Dagger Axe with a sharpened main hand and a precise offhand might be the way to go for dual wield. I still need to do a couple more tests to kind of see whether that is how things are going to play out here. But yeah, so the big changes here are going to be, at the very least, across all stamina DPS, assuming things don't change in the next couple of weeks. Soul Trap is definitely something that's going to be replacing Razor Caltrops. Now, if they do decide to tone down Rearming Trap or Soul Trap, then we'll have to kind of re-explore what other sort of dot might we put on there. There are maybe a few other options depending on class, obviously, so we'll kind of have to see how that plays out. Arrow Barrage is definitely going to be here to stay, though. I think Arrow Barrage is definitely going to be the next Endless Hail, mainly because it does more damage per tick, and it has pretty much a little bit less duration than the current Endless Hail, so it has about 2 seconds fewer duration, but it lines up a little bit better with the rotation overall. So it should be pretty good. Poison Injection is here to stay. So this did get a buff, even though the execute modifier was reduced, the overall damage was buffed. The Poison Injection is definitely here to stay here, and obviously Rearming Trap got a decent buff as well. So really the only change is you Arrow Barrage instead of Endless Hail, and then assuming nothing changes with Soul Trap, continue to use Soul Trap. For stamina DPS in general, your front bar is going to change. Definitely. So you're not really going to be running Dawnbreaker anymore if you can help it. If you have a better class ultimate, at least I should say, you're going to be using something different. So for example, Nightblade, you're going to be using in-cap on your front bar. Flawless Dawnbreaker still isn't a terrible choice as a front bar because you still get 3% additional weapon damage, but it's not as strong as it used to be. So that's kind of the couple of changes that have currently being made in stamina DPS. In terms of magic DPS, there are a couple of other changes that will be a separate video, but basically the idea is Destructive Clench looks like a fairly good dot if you are missing an additional dot. Then obviously you have Soul Trap, and then Entropy is also going to make its way onto the rotation as well. So there'll be a separate video kind of seeing how magic has been affected overall DPS when you start adjusting for all these changes and things like that. So generally speaking, DPS is going to be up, assuming that these changes do end up sticking, particularly the Soul Trap change for stamina DPS. And of course, this parse can obviously be higher. You need to practice a little bit more, get used to the rotation a little bit, and obviously swap out that Maladreth for Marsalok, which is the stronger Must Helm set, once I get used to bash weaving every 7 seconds or so. So this could be a lot higher. This could probably be closer to about 91, 92k or so, if I was a lot better DPS and I was using Marsalok or something like that, perhaps even higher than that. But again, I don't really main DPS too much. I'm more of a tank person when it comes to my main character. So obviously keep an eye out for Lyco and some other high-end PvE DPS that you run Stamina Nightblades to kind of see what the actual ceiling should be in this patch. So that's it for this video. Hope you guys found this informative. If you guys have anything you'd like me to test on the PTS, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Just remember that this is only the first week of the PTS, so there might be some other changes upcoming. We already know there's going to be one change upcoming on week 2 concerning the orbs, so we will be covering that at a later date. So again, hope you guys found this video informative, and I will see you guys in the next dungeon.